a lot of people want to bring up. Nobody really has a guaranteed answer, but I think we have some understanding, expectation of what's going to come with the Pittsburgh Steelers offense with Aaron Rodgers being the guy. I will ask you, and then we'll dive into it a little bit. Aaron Rodgers in 2025 with the Pittsburgh Steelers. You looked at Russell Wilson, didn't really have control of the offense. There's all those reports floating around from most likely Russ's side saying Arthur Smith was just running. There was no conversation at all about me changing plays. Do you like my Russ voice? I thought it was pretty good, to be honest with you. That was pretty good. I use that all the time, and I've been waiting to break that one out. And then when you looked at Justin Fields, didn't have any ability to change plays or really utilize the middle of the field because Mike Tomlin was scared. Before that, Kenny Pickett was the same way. Mitch Trubisky tried so hard to hide it from us and just not admit it, but he was told, don't throw in interceptions. Do whatever you have to do to not throw interceptions. You look at Aaron Rodgers, 4-time NFL MVP. Maybe that matters. Maybe it doesn't. Has won a Super Bowl. I don't think that matters because it didn't matter to Russ. Do you look at Aaron as a guy that's going to have control of this offense? Do you look at Aaron as a guy that's going to have control of the line of scrimmage in this offense to make changes and audibles? And do you think he could make, in a situation like a 2-minute drill, say, this is my playbook, we're going to see what we could do out of it, like Ben used to do, and like a lot of quarterbacks, Aaron included, have done throughout their NFL career? What's your thoughts on his freedom in this offense?
I think he's going to have a lot more freedom than we've seen a quarterback have in the Steelers offense over the past few seasons. It's going to be drastically different than Mitch Trubisky and how tight of a leash they held him to. And it's going to be drastically different than how they treated Russell Wilson and Justin Fields as well. I think throughout Aaron Rodgers' career, he has shown that he not only wants to have that control at the line of scrimmage and over the offense, but he just will do it. So I think I have an article here from the Wisconsin State Journal from, I think, 2022. And it's Matt LaFleur talking with a journalist from the Wisconsin State Journal. And he asks him pretty much straight up, like, is there any problem with this offense right now? Because the running backs are doing really well, but it seems like a lot of running plays at the line are becoming pass plays when they develop. And he was like, do you have like anything, like any problem with that? And Matt LaFleur said, I'm going to read this right off here. Yeah, but that's always the case for us. And certainly we've got the utmost confidence in Aaron. Why wouldn't you? To make the right decisions. He's been pretty good over our time, so we'll never sit here and second guess that. I think that's an element of our offense that makes it a little bit more difficult to defend. So I think that's been something that I've seen throughout any sort of conversations coaches have surrounding Aaron Rodgers, especially after, 2011, is that they have so much trust in him and the way he sees the field, analyzes the game, that eventually, even if it's not by design, he has a very strong hand in the offense, calling audibles at the line, running the 2-minute drill. So yeah, I think he's going to have a ton of freedom. I think Arthur Smith wants to have control. I think there is an element to him not only trying to improve the offense, and there's a lot of pressure on him to improve the offense as the coordinator, but Arthur Smith is also coordinating for a head coaching job again. So a strong offensive performance is only going to help that. So he wants to show control over that, I'm sure. But when you have a 4-time MVP and future Hall of Famer, if he has input, if he wants to strong arm the offense, I think you have to let him until it goes terribly wrong.
I agree. And I think the problem with Russ is that Russ, again, was you just got to do what he could do, and it was limited. And he made plays into what he thought he was comfortable with, which is George Pickens going deep every single time, which I understand that. I get it. But with Aaron, I think he sees the field better. I think he utilizes his tight ends better. And because of that, he's able to do things and see things and go, yeah, we're going to use this up the middle. My biggest thing here is I think Aaron at 41 years old, and this goes back to what I was told during this entire negotiation process, was Aaron does not want to come in here and be anybody's savior. He wants to come in here and play football and be a really good quarterback and help his team win a Super Bowl. That's what he wants to be. And I think in New York, he had to look at it and say, I have to be the hero. I think in Green Bay at times he had to be the hero. I think in Pittsburgh, he's going to come in here and say, I am a quarterback and a really good one, but I'm a quarterback who needs to lead this team to a Super Bowl. And to do that, we got to be really good. And I think at 41, he's probably not selfish enough in this to say, I'm going to throw the ball 45 times, but instead actually utilize what needs to be utilized to run solid offenses. That was Ben's thing, is that it wasn't always passes, like the Ben knew how to run an offense, a good one. And I think Aaron's the same way. I think Aaron's shown that a lot of times. And I think because that I have a lot of faith. I don't look at I mean, maybe I'm wrong here, but Arthur Smith, I think even coaching for a head coaching job next year, the best way you can do that is to say, I work really well with all quarterbacks. You know what I mean? Like me and quarterbacks me and Aaron had a great hand in hand here, and we knew what we were doing. And there are going to be a lot of teams next year who are in a situation with a veteran quarterback who need a head coach. Arthur Smith is a name that I think could come up because of that. So I don't think it helps him to overtake the entire offense and, cause more issues with the quarterback. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure. I think that's a very fair way of putting it. I mean, to kind of bridge the gap here, I think the best way for the offense to succeed for both of them is to have a symbiotic relationship. Like Aaron Rodgers has very valuable feedback and information and experience that Arthur Smith hasn't really dealt with recently. No offense to like Russell Wilson, his Super Bowl winning experience, but yeah. Aaron Rodgers is a totally different breed. Yes. And so to have his input and to be sort of on the same level as sort of Arthur Smith as well, because that is my fear, basically, is it's like sort of like 2014 Green Bay Packers situation, 2015 Green Bay Packers situation, where it truly was just like no one called plays but Aaron Rodgers. Yeah. And like that was like he won an MVP, I think in I have a note here for 2016 he won an MVP. So like some of it worked for sure, but I think at 41 to expect that to be the same thing is just not realistic anymore. So I want Rodgers to have control as a veteran quarterback who really knows the game, but I don't want it to feel like it is totally the Aaron Rodgers show every time the Steelers offense takes the field. Does that make sense?
No, I think that's the perfect happy medium. Is if the Pittsburgh Steelers are able to run an offense based on Aaron Rodgers and company, and then as he's out there, be able to change the offense. And I think that's why you have Aaron Rodgers, because when you have Aaron Rodgers, that's what you're looking for. You're looking for that veteran presence that knows what he's doing back there. So in moments where things can't be normal and unique or uniform, then your quarterback can do what he's supposed to do and change the game and say, all right, instead we're doing this because this is going to work, but our current play isn't. And you can't predict that every time. So I agree with you. I definitely agree with you. I think that's the happy medium the Steelers are looking for. And that's what I expect to happen with Aaron Rodgers and company, as we get into training camp. And I'm sure more and more will develop, but there's no part of me that sits around worried that other things and that this is going to be another Russ situation. Although it is a trending topic, I think, day after day, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, do you think how much of a role do you think DK Metcalf has just in all of this? Like, or how much pressure, I think might be a better question. Like, we've talked a lot about, the pressure on Rodgers or Arthur Smith, or sort of where does that lie? But is there anyone else on offense, maybe not even DK, but Jaylen Warren or, the offensive line, obviously, but is there anyone else where it's like that pressure is also on them to make sure that everyone, Rodgers specifically, meets the expectations that are being laid out for him?
Yeah. I think DK plays a heavy hand in that. I do, but I also think that DK, is going to get his. DK is going to eat. You're not going to have like Calvin's not a guy that strikes me as a come into the huddle and complain that he's not getting the ball guy. Mm-hmm. Maybe Roman Wilson will be that guy. I don't know. Robert Woods is a veteran. Who knows? DK Metcalf is going to get his. You know what I mean? He's going to walk into the huddle and be like, yeah, I just have 7 passes today. That's fine. I'm chilling. We're in a good spot. So I don't think it's going to be that way. I also think that when it comes to what the Steelers are going to do game plan wise, it is going to be so heavily involved in getting their stars the football that I think it's going to be okay. Like I don't view it to be honest as like you're going to have a drama queen that you have to tend to. I think the Steelers have tried to get rid of those. I think they've been pretty successful. And I think DK is going to have enough touches to not have to worry about that stuff.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I hear you. I think there's a lot of those three voices, Smith, Rodgers, DK. I feel like those are probably, the balance of those three voices and who's the strongest at any given time is going to be just like a constant topic throughout the rest of the season. So yeah, I hope they find a nice middle, because there's a lot of pressure from the outside, from the fan base for sure, for the $130 million wide receiver to live up to very lofty expectations, but so we'll see.
We'll see what happens. All right, that's everything.